This is one of the worst Dragon Ball games I've ever played. It might even be one of the worst games I've played in general. I audibly let out a sigh every time I had to actually play the game. Anytime I had to fight, I would just blank out and mash square. I normally win too, because the whole gameplay loop is rock, paper, scissors. I'm not kidding. Every interaction is a guessing game with the same animations each time. There's no skill involved. If I have a combo going and I pick the wrong option, then now it's my opponent's combo. This game is more like a movie with QTEs. A movie I wish I could unwatch. I am not looking forward to this, but let's platinum Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi. This game has the usual story mode going all the way to the Buu saga with some movie bosses sprinkled in there, but this also includes another mode called Hero Mode, where you can create a character and go through an original Dragon Ball story. This is kinda like a precursor to Xenoverse in a way. Now obviously I'll be starting with the main story mode, and here is where the main issue starts, the gameplay. I said before how this game is just rock, paper, scissors, and this fight is as interactive as it's gonna get. I'll do a quick rundown of it since it's never gonna change. Anytime I start a combo, I have to first win a 50-50 by pressing either square or triangle. If I pick a different option than my opponent, then my combo goes through. If we both pick the same option, then they counter me and push me back into neutral. No skill, just guessing. There's two different distances I can be at, melee and blast. I can only use Ki Blasts if I'm in blast distance, and only use melee if I'm in melee distance. If I use too many Ki Blasts, then the game will forcefully teleport me into another 50-50. I can only use super attacks if my spirit gauge is filled, and that fills by doing triangle attacks. I can only use ultimate attacks if my spirit gauge is filled to the max. Anytime I switch distances, I'm forced into another 50-50 of picking left or right. Picking differently does damage, picking the same takes damage. The only point to charging Ki is to do a defense option when the opponent uses a super attack. From bottom to top, it goes guard, evade, and intercept. They all suck, and the only one worth using is intercept, which requires near max Ki. Guarding doesn't even fully guard, and evading needs you to hit square on 3 quick lines speeding by, which I almost always seem to miss at least one. I hope that was understandable enough for you. Now back to story mode. It starts with Bardock versus Frieza. Obviously, I'm not going to win this. After I do enough damage, or enough time has passed, an automatic beam clash happens, which I lose, ending the match. This is considered me winning the fight, and I get a trophy for winning one battle in story mode. Now I'm at the Saiyan saga. After each main fight, called event battles here, a Dragon Ball will appear somewhere on the map. I'll need to collect enough to summon Shenron and Porunga once each. To not chance having to repeat any fights, I'll look around and collect them as I go. The Dragon Radar makes them easy to find. Annoyingly, Dragon Balls can also appear at the World Tournament. I have to win against 3 opponents to come first place and get the Dragon Ball. When I get to the fight against Vegeta, I have to take him to another place to fight. Landing here causes a sky chase to happen. Basically, I'm getting chased and have to avoid being hit too much. This is the first of many sky chases in the game, but I get a trophy for doing one for the first time. I do the fight against Vegeta, and doing enough damage causes the fight to end. Now he wants to transform. I have to fly around as him until he realizes the moon got destroyed and makes his own moon to transform. This is a giant boss battle, as the game calls it. Have you played the Storm games? This is painfully identical to those giant battles. Do some damage from a distance until a cutscene starts with QuickTime events. I liked these in the Storm games, but I hate the ones in this game. Probably cause I'm only allowed to use melee or Ki Blasts when the game lets me. There's no freedom of choice with this game. Anyway, when I beat Grade 8 Vegeta, I get a trophy for clearing a giant boss battle for the first time. Right after, as Gohan, I hunt more Dragon Balls. Sometimes I have to fight against an enemy for one. Here was a Cyberman, and after I beat him, I got the last Dragon Ball and a trophy for collecting all 7. Then I go to the Capsule House to summon Shenron and get another trophy. On to the Namek saga. The usual fights happen with the Doria, Zarbon, and the Ginyu Force. After some fights, I get a super attack that I can customize a character with. After I fight Raccoon with Gohan, I get 2 super attacks and unlock a trophy for collecting 10 super attacks. Between fights, I look for the Dragon Balls again, as I can only summon Porunga with the Namekian Dragon Balls. Before Frieza shows up, I'm able to gather all 7 and summon Porunga for a trophy. Speaking of Frieza, he's here now, and the first fight against him is so long. The game cycles me through 4 different characters, while Frieza transforms into his second form, then into his third. I lost at the last part because the game made me play as Gohan against third form Frieza, and I had to start over at the beginning. That's 10 minutes of my life I'll never get back. Goku shows up and multiple fights against Frieza happen until Krillin goes bye-bye and Goku becomes a Super Saiyan. During this fight, one of the stupidest things in this game happens. Sometimes during a big boss fight, the opponent will toss out a super attack, even if they have an empty spirit gauge, so technically they shouldn't even be able to use it. It's not too bad if I have the ki needed to defend myself, which I do here. I'm full up on ki, so I should be able to evade or block against it or something, right? The game doesn't let me. There's no option here like there normally would be. I'm just forced to take 11k damage in the middle of the fight, which then puts me at a disadvantage to take even more damage. Whoops, I chose the wrong option in the 50-50 guessing game and now took an extra 8500 damage. 20,000 damage that was out of my control. When I get Frieza to a low amount of health, another beam clash happens that I automatically win, winning the fight. Now we're at the Cell saga, and nothing of importance happens in the first half of this saga besides fighting the androids, so I'll skip it. I meet Cell, he absorbs Android 17, becoming semi-perfect Cell. Vegeta lets him absorb Android 18 to become perfect Cell, and now I fight him with Super Vegeta. During this fight, I used evasion against a super attack. I failed, and got a trophy after the fight for using evade 10 times in total. The Cell games happen, and I cycle through multiple characters, each fighting their own Cell Jr. until Gohan explodes into Super Saiyan 2. In the fight against Perfect Cell, my game kinda glitched. Not kinda, actually, it did glitch. I don't know what happened, but I think Cell tried dashing towards me, and maybe I did something too. The whole game came to a standstill and I couldn't press anything. Well, nothing but the pause button. I didn't want to start this fight over, but I had to. When no glitches happen, I beat Cell easily and unlock a trophy for collecting 30 super attacks. Now the story kinda goes non-canon a bit. Instead of going to the Buu saga, I get put in a boss fight against Metal Cooler from one of the movies. This boss fight sucks more than the Great Ape Vegeta fight. I'm still unable to melee or shoot ki blasts unless the game lets me, and when I do get to shoot ki blasts, they come out so slow, I'm only able to get one out before I have to dodge an attack. And that's if the ki blasts even hit. What is this lock-on system? Oh yeah, non-existent. Same thing as before, damage him enough times until a cutscene happens with QTEs, then into phase 2. Do the same thing, boss fight ends. Then we have a fight against Broly. This one's just a normal fight. I cycle through the Z fighters until landing back on Goku and finishing the fight. During the fight, I used Guard against the super attack and unlocked a trophy after the fight for using Guard 10 times in total. Now I get to go into the Buu saga. Vegeta gets mind controlled, blows himself up trying to kill Buu. It doesn't work. Majin Buu becomes Super Buu. He absorbs Gohan. Goku and Vegeta fuse to make Super Vegito. Super Buu then becomes Kid Buu, and we need a Spirit Bomb to take him out completely. I just gave you the simplest summary of the Buu saga. But now that we're at the end, I get a trophy for watching the credits, and a trophy for beating story mode. Even though this isn't the actual end of story mode, there's still some other non-canon fights to do. The first one being against Janemba, another unpleasant giant boss fight. If you've seen Fusion Reborn, then you know what's going to happen. Goated movie, by the way. I beat Janemba, then he turns into Super Janemba. I fight him until Goku and Vegeta fuse into Super Gogeta and beat him. When I beat him, I unlock a trophy for fighting on every stage. Then we have another giant boss battle with Hirudegarn from Wrath of the Dragon. Another goated movie, by the way. Can you tell my favorite form is Super Saiyan 3? This is the same as every other giant boss battle. Damage him with Ki Blast until phase 2, then damage him with melee. The last fight in this extended story mode is a GT fight, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta against Omega Shenron. This one took a few tries because he has an attack that does 21,000 damage if I don't have a way to dodge it. When I beat him, I get a trophy for unlocking all characters. That's story mode done, now let's do hero mode. I said before how I make my own character here. I just go with the default since I don't care how they look. How the story goes is basically something bad happened with Earth and my character wants to collect the Dragon Balls to fix it. The first fight is against Captain Ginyu, who gives me a Dragon Ball when I beat him. I also get a trophy for winning one battle in hero mode, and immediately after, another trophy for unlocking him as a master. They know we missed the giant boss battles because there's some in this game mode too. They're even harder here since my character is a low level with barely any health. 5 hits and I'm dead. I also do pitiful damage. I ended up having to play this like Dragon Quest and find weaker enemies to beat up and get XP off them. One of the fights I found was against Android 18 and 17. I was so close to winning. Android 18 had 30 health left. I threw a Ki Blast, but she said nope and chucked about 10 of them back at me. My god, I was fuming here. I'm going to find weaker enemies like Cybermen and Cell Juniors to bully. Looking around the map, I found a costume for my character and unlocked a trophy for it. Beating up more Cell Juniors, I get a trophy for obtaining 500 AP, which is the XP points for this mode. Now I think I can take on that monkey. I have more health and do a bit more damage, but no amount of health can prepare me for this QTE. The button goes so fast, and there's a slight delay on when I push it to when it stops. If I mess it up, I take 9,000 damage. There's no checkpoints, so I'm back to the beginning of this fight. Another issue I have with this fight is the same issue I have with the whole game, honestly. In phase 2, the game wants me to use melee attacks, so it takes away any ability I have to shoot Ki Blasts. When the monkey does this attack, I can't hit him. I just have to dodge and wait for his fists to slam down and hit those. So when he decides to do this attack 6 times in a row, I can't do anything but wait. I could damage with Ki Blast, but the game says no. I would say this is the worst boss of the game, but I share that sentiment with all of them. I leveled up a lot from that monkey, enough to get another trophy for obtaining 1000 AP. I'm able to easily take down the androids now. The next event battle is against Piccolo. He's a tougher enemy, having over double my health. Looks like I have to bully some more weaklings for XP. Here's a perfect example of how useless guarding is. I spend the next hour and a half grinding XP until I take on Piccolo. During the fight, my character turns Super Saiyan, even though he'll only do it in cutscenes and I can't do it on my own. Next event battle is another monkey. Oh, I missed these. I must have grinded a ton of XP because I did this fight first try. He explains the villain behind everything is Omega Shenron. I go pay him a visit after grinding more XP for another hour. In the middle of the fight, my character turns Super Saiyan and gets a full heal. I think I do more damage too, but can't confirm that. I do end up beating him, but then he takes all 7 Dragon Balls I've collected and scatters them across the map. They're all being blocked by an enemy that I have to beat to get it back, either a member of the Ginyu Force or Frieza squad. This is just obvious padding. I get all 7 Dragon Balls back and challenge Omega Shenron again, only to beat him first try. I guess all that grinding paid off. At Kami's temple, I summon Ultimate Shenron to fix the earth, but he looks a bit different. He's corrupted by Omega Shenron's negative energy and attacking us. Sure, why not? One more giant boss battle. Phase 1, I shoot Ki Blast and melee when he slams his snout down, and Phase 2, I just shoot Ki Blast. Because when he's close enough to melee, I can't move away in time before he damages me for 5 times the amount I damage him for. It's not worth it. When I beat him, Ultimate Shenron says he can't fix the damage to the earth. All he can do is bring everyone who was killed back to life. I guess that's good enough. That's the end of hero mode, and I get a trophy for beating it. I got a few more trophies here, then we can move on to different modes. Same way I found a costume, I look around the map to find a hairstyle for my character to unlock a trophy. I need 20,000 AP in total, and the most efficient way is to do the first match against Ginyu over and over again. Each time, I get 50 AP for each stat. I thought this would take longer, but I unlocked the trophy after only a few matches. Then the remaining trophies are all unlocked by doing training with masters. Completing the first lesson with Yamcha gets me a trophy, as well as completing training with Ginyu. Occasionally, masters will give me skills by finishing lessons. I need 20 in total. Finishing training with Android 18 gets me a trophy for collecting 10 skills. And finishing half of Vegeta's training gets me a trophy for collecting 20 skills. With both of the main modes now done, I can focus on more miscellaneous trophies. For starters, with every character unlocked, I can go into the capsule house and check out the character encyclopedia. Going through every character's bio will get me a trophy. Let's get an annoying trophy out of the way. I have to beat the CPU on very strong difficulty 50 times. Why 50? Because this game sucks, that's why. To make this easier on myself, I made a new character which allowed me to fight him in versus mode using my fully upgraded character. I had 50,000 health compared to his 20,000. I tried my best to keep my distance and spam Ki Blasts. When the game wouldn't force me back to melee distance, that is, I'd end it with a super attack since my spirit gauge would be filled and the CPU would have no ki charged up. I got a few trophies while working my way up to 50 wins. I got one for winning against the CPU 5 times, and one for winning against the CPU 30 times. Then finally, I got the trophy for winning against the CPU on very strong difficulty a total of 50 times. This one trophy took almost 2 hours to do. Let's tackle the online next. This is similar to past games where I'll need to collect titles, 30 to be exact. I get them by doing things like winning 5 matches with Kamehameha, using transformations 50 times in total, or winning the online world tournament. There's also titles for using each character 20 times. There's 40 of these in total, but I'll just be getting a few to save on time. The online servers for this game are also infamously buggy. Disconnects happen all the time, which makes hunting for these titles even worse. After my first online match, I got a trophy for, take a guess, playing an online battle one time. This is where it becomes obvious that I did the online portion of this game before anything else, because the next trophy I got was for doing 20 clashes in total. I would have gotten this anywhere since that's all the gameplay is. I just wanted to get the online over with immediately since I figured it'd be the worst part of the platinum. I'm not too sure if it is after playing through the game at this point. I take that back. After winning 5 times with Kamehameha, I got another title, and this was my 5th title, so I got a trophy for collecting 5 titles. A few battles later, and I get another trophy for playing 10 online matches. More disconnects happen. This game's great. At one point, I even had back-to-back disconnects. I eventually do 100 clashes, which is enough to pop another trophy. These online matches take a while to finish. That's bad for 2 reasons. It means it takes longer to get all the titles I need, and there's a higher chance to disconnect. I've had about 8 disconnects in a little over 3 hours of playing online. That doesn't sound too bad, but when I tell you I just got the trophy for playing 30 online matches and I'm not even halfway through all my online footage, that's bad. That's about 6 minutes per match on average, which is extremely slow for a Dragon Ball game. For comparison, Raging Blast matches can end in less than a minute. I don't want to imagine how long a match would be if I wasn't boosting. I did titles for doing Defense Intercept and got a trophy for using Intercept 10 times, and won the online world tournament for another title, which got me another trophy for winning the world tournament. I ended my online journey with my last title being for using Captain Ginyu 20 times. Now let's get off this god-awful online. Only a few more trophies left. I need to win both the World Tournament and Cell games on hard difficulty. Easiest way to do this is to set the amount of players to 4 and pick my created character since he's buffed up. For some reason, if I'm directly above the CPU, then they bug out and don't know what to do. When I win the second match, I get a trophy for becoming champion of the World Tournament on hard difficulty. Now to do the exact same thing, but at the Cell games. Winning the Cell games gets me 2 trophies, one for beating the Cell games, and one for beating it on hard. There are a few trophies I can get in 2-player versus by using each of the defense options 100 times each. While I do that, I'll also throw some supers and ultimates in there since there are trophies for doing 50 of each. First, I got the trophy for doing 50 super attacks. I was probably only a few away. Then the trophies for doing evade 100 times, intercept 100 times, and guard 100 times. Finally, I popped the trophy for doing 50 ultimates. This one took a while because I don't think I did a single ultimate before this. Ultimates in this game are kind of useless if they can be dodged as easy as a super attack. The last trophies are similar to the same thing I did at the end of Xenoverse 2. I need to do training and the tutorial. I just need to enter training mode for the first time to pop the trophy. There are 7 parts to the tutorial, going over the basics of melee and ki blast distance, super and ultimate attacks, and the defense system. All bad changes if you ask me. The last tutorial shows how to switch out teammates and fuse. When I finish that, I get the last trophy, and then the platinum. If it isn't obvious, I did not enjoy my time with this game. Most of the time, I felt like I was fighting the controls more than the opponent. According to the guide I used, this game should take around 30 plus hours to platinum. The PS3 doesn't tell me how long I took like the PS5 does. However, I can add up all the time from my footage to see how long it took, and that number is exactly 34 hours and 27 minutes. If you're curious, it took about 8 hours for the online trophies with 15 disconnects in total. I can only recommend this game if you're either a huge Dragon Ball fan or you just want to see how bad it is for yourself. Whatever the reason is, don't say I didn't warn you.